Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the fifth meeting of discourse analysis. Today we're going to learn about discourse and grammar. So let's just start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The first one is the reference. Reference refers to the situation where the identity of an item can be retrieved from either within or outside the text. And then main reference patterns, there are 4 of them, which are anaphoric, cataphoric, exaphoric, and homophoric. The first one is anaphoric reference. It means that a word or phrase that refers back to another word or phrase used earlier in a text. For example, Ahmad went to the market to buy some fish. Sadly, it's closed due to the pandemic. After mentioning the market, the writer assumes that the reader will be able to know what it in the second sentence refers to. If a reader is not sure of what is being referred to, they will typically read back in the text to find the answer. So in this sentence, in the example, we know that the word it in the second sentence refers to the market. The next one is cataphoric reference. It is a word or phrase that refers forward to another word or phrase used later in a text. So it is the opposite of anaphoric reference. For example, after I talked to them yesterday, finally my parents allowed me to study abroad. In this case, the readers know what them refers to will be mentioned after they read forward. So it is basically the opposite of anaphoric reference. And then anaphoric and cataphoric references are also called as endophoric references, which means the item that's being referred to is seen clearly within or inside the text. Endophoric reference is the opposite of exophoric reference, which will be explained later. And now is the exophoric reference. The word or phrase that's being referred to is outside the text, so it is the opposite of endophoric reference. The use of exophoric reference requires some shared knowledge between the writer and the readers, or between the speakers. For example, when will he come downstairs? It's getting cold. I know, but he's still busy doing his homework. So he refers to a person outside the discourse whom both speakers know. So both speakers in this example have to know which person that they are being talked about. And it also refers to something that both speakers know about. For example, it is the meal or the dinner, etc. So it is not seen clearly inside the text, but we know the reference outside the text. The next one is homophoric reference. The word or phrase that's being referred to can be identified from the cultural knowledge, not in the context of the text. For example, the Prophet completes his hijrah or flight from Mecca to Medina to escape persecution. In this case, although it is not mentioned which prophet who's being described in the discourse, but people who belong to the Muslim community know that the prophet who did a hijrah from Mecca to Medina refers to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then, besides all those references, we also have comparative and bridging reference. Comparative reference, the word or phrase that's being referred to is not mentioned in the text, but it is being compared. Usually, there are words such as same, equal, similar, different, etc. It is not always, but usually, there are words like this. For example, Anna is a very diligent student, unlike her sister. We don't know what Anna's sister is like, but from this sentence, we can know or we can assume that Anna's sister is not diligent. Anna's sister is lazy. And then the next one, my neighbor has a tricolor cat similar as mine. So in the sentence, it is not mentioned which cat that I have, what kind of cat that I have, but from this sentence, we know that my cat is also a tricolor cat. And then, bridging reference. The word or phrase that's being referred to is mentioned indirectly in the text. For example, I just bought a new watch. The strap is made out of leather. Although it is not mentioned which strap is made out of leather, but it is indirectly explained that the strap belongs to the new watch in the previous sentence. So it looks like anaphoric reference, but it is actually not the same as anaphoric reference, because the thing that is being referred to is indirectly mentioned in the text. The next one is lexical cohesion. Lexical cohesion refers to relationships in meaning between lexical items in a text and, in particular, content words and the relationship between them. The main kinds of lexical cohesions we have repetition, synonymy, antonymy, hyponymy, meronymy, and collocation. For these lexical cohesions, I believe that you have already learned about it in semantics. So let's just do a short review about this lexical cohesion. For the first one is repetition. Repetition refers to the words that are repeated in a text. However, the words that are repeated is not necessarily the same. For example, Samantha has never been in Indonesia before. Tomorrow I'll take her to the Bromo Mountain. I'm sure Sam will love it. We know that the word Sam in the third sentence is the same as Samantha. So repetition can also be the same words that are being repeated, but it also can be different words, but it should be the same. Something like that. And then the next one is synonymy. It refers to words which are similar in meaning. For example, the word date and go out. They have the same meaning. Not really the same, but similar in meaning. So the meaning for synonyms, actually maybe some of them are not 100% the same, but they are similar. And then the next one is antonymy. Antonymy describes opposite or contrastive meanings. It is the opposite of synonymy. For example, young and old, tall and short, etc. The next one is hyponymy. Hyponymy refers to classes of lexical items where the relationship between them is one of general specific. For example, the lexical representation of red, orange, yellow, green, and blue is color. Therefore, red is the hyponym of color. And then meronymy. Meronymy is where lexical items are the members of something. For example, head, neck, torso, leg, and arm are the members of body. And then we have collocation. Collocation describes associations between vocabulary items which have a tendency to co-occur. Or the simpler definition is two or more words that often appear together because of the habit of the usage. For example, English native speakers usually say heavy rain because it is the habitual usage of this phrase. And they barely say strong rain. So although maybe those two phrases have similar meaning, but it is more common for English speakers to say heavy rain. Therefore, the phrase heavy rain is more acceptable. And then the same also occurs to fast train. Fast train is more acceptable than quick train. Although they have the same or similar meaning, but the one that is more acceptable because of the habitual usage is fast train. The next one is conjunction. So conjunctions by Halliday and Hassan, there are four of them, four categories of conjunctions, which are additive, adversative, causal, and temporal. However, it is being developed by Martin and Rose, which are the categories are additive, comparative, temporal, and consequential. You can take a look at the explanation in Paltridge's book. I took these types of conjunctions and the meaning and the examples of the conjunction from the Paltridge book. I don't think that I need to explain this very much because I believe that you have already mastered this conjunction. Okay, the next one we have substitution. Substitution is a process of substituting a language item for another language item. For example, the first one is substituting an item for a noun. Try reading this book. That one's not very good. The word one in the second sentence substituted this book in the first sentence. And then the second one, substituting an item for a verb. For example, has he had dinner yet? He must have done. There's no food in the fridge. So the word done here in the second utterance refers to the dinner. The next one or the third one is substituting for a clause. For example, that's great to hear you're still happy. Oh yes, very much so. So the word so here substituted the clause you're still happy. The next one is ellipsis. In ellipsis, we remove or we omit the words from the text because they can be recovered by referencing to a preceding element in the text. Ellipsis may involve the omission of a noun or noun group, a verb or verbal group, or a clause. For example, what did you want to say to Allison tonight? That I'm very sorry for the fight we had the other night. So the utterance in the second one, the speaker omit the clause I want to say. So this utterance is acceptable in English. Okay, now for the assignment, I will only give you one question number for this assignment. So do the exercise 6.1 18, question number 1. Only number 1 in Partridge's book. So in the question, you are asked to write down the reference and the lexical chain. For the lexical chain, you will find the explanation in Partridge book 2. However, if you're confused of how to make a lexical chain, just write down which part is which. For example, which part contains anaphoric reference, or which words are synonyms, which words are hyponyms, etc., etc. So you don't have to arrange a lexical change, but just explain which part is which. Okay, I think that's all for my explanation. We're going to do our discussion in the Google Classwork writtenly. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.